It started on a Tuesday night. Jenna was washing dishes in the kitchen when she glanced up and froze. A man was standing at the edge of her backyard, just beyond the light, watching her through the window. She stared back for a moment, heart pounding. No movement, no sound, just a shadowy figure, still as death. She blinked, and he was gone. She convinced herself it was nothing, a trick of the light. But the next night, he was closer, standing at the fence, hands at his sides, staring straight at her. Again, gone when she looked away. The third night, she woke at 3:11 a.m. Something told her to check the living room window. He was standing on her porch, smiling. She called the police. They found no one. But every night after that, at exactly 3:11, he came back, closer. Until one night, he wasn't outside the window. He was inside the house.
The phone that shouldn't ring.
Brian moved into a quiet apartment on the edge of town. It was peaceful, cheap, and came fully furnished, including an old rotary phone mounted to the wall. It didn't work. No dial tone, no connection, just dead wire. But one night at 1:06 a.m., it rang. Startled, Brian answered. A cold, raspy voice whispered, "Don't look under the bed." Click. He laughed it off, assuming it was some weird prank. The next night, same time, it rang again. This time, "You're not alone." He didn't sleep. On the third night, when the phone rang, Brian didn't pick up. He just stood there, frozen, listening to it ring, until it stopped. Then, he heard something breathing under his bed. Slow, shallow, close. The phone hasn't rung since, but Brian doesn't sleep in the bedroom anymore, and he's never looked under the bed.
Story 3. The room that watched. There's a guest room in my house. We don't use it. We don't even open the door. It started the first night we moved in. My dog stood in the hallway staring at the door to that room, growling, low and steady. His fur stood up. He wouldn't go near it. I thought maybe it was just the smell of old wood or dust. Then one night I passed the room on my way to bed and saw something move inside. The door was still shut, but I saw a figure, pacing. I stared. It stopped, turned, and looked straight at me. No sound, no breath, just a presence. I ran. When I finally opened the door with a crowbar, the room was empty, cold, but written across the mirror in faint, foggy letters were the words, "Thanks for watching me too." Story 4. Static. I always leave the TV on at night. Not to watch, just for the background noise. It helps me sleep. But last week it started doing something strange. At exactly 3 a.m., the TV would switch to static. No volume, just the screen. White noise. Then, words began to appear in the static. One line at a time. "Can you hear me?" Then the next night, "You're so loud when you sleep." I tried unplugging the TV. Still at 3 a.m. it turned on. Static. Then, "Don't open your eyes." I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, blankets pulled up to my ears, heart hammering. The last message came last night. In thick, jagged letters, it read, "I'm in the room now." And this time, I heard the floor creak. Story 5. The house that followed. No one builds houses anymore like the one James grew up in. Tall ceilings, winding staircases, wallpaper that whispered when it peeled. His parents sold it when he was 12. They said it was time to move on. James never argued. He never told them that every night for years he'd heard someone whispering his name through the vents, or that the attic door sometimes opened on its own, or that he once found a finger tucked under his pillow, cold and gray as stone. Years passed. He moved to a different state, new city, new job, fresh start. But then, one night, he walked past a construction site near his apartment and froze. The house being built there was exactly like the one he grew up in, identical, down to the chipped column on the porch and the weather vane shaped like a crow. It wasn't possible. He called his parents. They swore the original house was torn down, long gone. But every night after that, he dreamt of the old hallway, the wallpaper, the attic door creaking open. And then one morning, he woke up and found that same wallpaper on the walls of his bedroom. The house hadn't been rebuilt. It had followed him. Story 6. Below the Floorboards. Clara inherited the farmhouse after her grandmother died. She had only been there once as a child. A brief visit that ended with her waking up in the middle of the night, screaming. She never remembered why. The house was isolated, surrounded by fields and wind, no neighbors, no roads nearby. She spent the first few days exploring, finding old books, dusty furniture, and one odd thing in the kitchen. A wooden board in the floor that didn't quite sit flush. It creaked whenever she stepped on it. She pried it open one night. Underneath was a square hole in the floor, just big enough for someone to fit into. Inside were 3 things: a rusted lantern, a child's shoe, and a journal. The journal was filled with frantic, looping handwriting. The entries were short. The knocking started again. It wants me to listen. I saw her eyes under the floor. The final entry read, "It's not the house, it's what's underneath." That night, Clara was awoken by a sound. Knocking. Not on the door. Not on the window. Beneath the bed. Slow, rhythmic. She got up, heart pounding, and listened closer. And she heard breathing. Not her own. Something below the floorboards was listening too.